Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter. I'm here today with the rest of the TaleSpire team, or most of them rather, and this is our 1 year anniversary of Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's been pretty
Nice.
cool. In terms of updates from me, real quick, before we jump into things, I just want to mention that there will be, in addition to the VOD, I'm going to start doing a Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter bulletin, which will go ahead and kind of summarize these things and be a kind of source of the latest updates from these in terms of our Q&As. One page go-to instead of a constant kind of drip feed of updates each time. So with that, I'll hand it to the rest of the team to go ahead and get into things.
Alrighty. Yeah, so the first one of the year, and 1 year anniversary. I didn't actually know that, so that's pretty exciting. So far this year, we've released a couple of bug fix patches and some quality of life stuff that Lewis put together, and also we released gestures and pings.
Nice.
Was that last week? I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's been working well for people. It seems like it. We've got some great feedback on it, so that's great. It was fun to do, but another one of those things that took longer to polish than anticipated. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that Hannah, aka Hekbo, is back, at least for for the time being, 1 day a week, and then she's going to move on to a couple of days a week soonish. So she's trying to finish up some of the stuff that she started prior to her leave. So there's going to be some sci-fi extension stuff coming that she was working on from there, and more news on what she'll be doing going forward as well soon. That's exciting. And a little bit about what I've been working on since the ping release. I've actually been looking at some of the terrain landscape things. There are techniques that I've been trying to avoid for a long time, and like with so many other things I've been trying to avoid for a long time, it might be the answer to the question. So testing out some marching cube in correlation with sign distant fields, and it's yielding some interesting results. So the thing that I was worried about when it comes to marching cubes was my inability to control the assets that are involved in creating the shapes, basically, just because of the nature of how marching cubes are put together. But after having done some testing with some height maps and things like that, it seems like we could have a good foundation using those, and then potentially adding some supplementary assets around parameters and things like that to make it, to sort of get to the answer to having a little bit of control over how cliff faces and things like that look. And one of the benefits of using this techniques is that having sign distance fields, which are really nice to combine, sort of cut into and things like that, where you might be able to do things like when you place a tile, you can choose to cut away from the terrain when you place the tile or more tiles and things like that, and there are pathways for doing that. The other thing is just seeing how well water comes together when you can actually just string multiple blocks together and it just creates a mesh. And this was things that other people probably already knew, but I had to be dragged into this this thing. I don't have anything. I don't want to show anything today, but I'll probably be doing some devlogs on the subject once I'm more confident with this approach to see whether or not this would be the way to go forward. I'm more confident than I've ever been that we have a place forward with this. So that's exciting. But that's actually enough talking from me, I think. So I'm going to let Chris maybe pick up.
Yeah, I can do a bit more. Yeah, on my side, and because I suppose a little more on the kind of engine side as well. Been working on some of the things I mentioned in the devlogs, which is been trying to get the vision range stuff a little closer to done. The bits we're at now is where I need like other people involved. So playtesting and opinions on UI stuff, which I'm not so hot at, and things like that. And then there's just a whole bunch of little bug fixes and optimizations and things to do. But it's got good bones, so feeling pretty confident about that. Chair has been working heavily on tagging, which I know is like, I think for you and us, one of the things that's just absolutely yeah, it's a killer. It's just not being able to search through stuff has been a real pain, and trying to understand how that should behave once you've got assets into the game, but also searching repositories like Modio, finding where there's a mismatch between features and things like this, and working out what to do there. So Chair at the moment is working on, actually, I think he's mentioned this in the devlog. I actually haven't read the latest one, so I'm behind. But he's working on being able to upload to Modio directly from TaleWeaver Lite. And he has, like last year, did some great work on the tagging system. To get tags into Modio have been really helpful in that they've said they're quite happy. We have a lot of tags. A lot of games, they just need general categories. You know what it's like. It's a weapon, or it's a player, or it's a skin, or it's a whatever. Our tagging is super extensive because we have all these different kinds of creatures, and they have different kinds of groupings within this big kind of taxonomy. And so it's not like we could just take, all several hundred tags that we've got for creatures and push them up to Modio. But the experience of actually tagging things on there would be awful. And yeah, it would just be awful. And so that's not something, if it's really uncomfortable, people aren't going to do it. And if people aren't doing it consistently, what's the point? What we can do, however, is there's a separate piece of metadata that's stored with all the mods called key value pairs, and we can put custom tag information in that and then search on it. So we've got a few feature requests we're going to send to Modio, but we're going to have the tagging done in TaleWeaver Lite, and then you'll be able to push that directly to Modio. It'll also put those tags inside the miniature, which will support full custom tags. And that's like when you've downloaded something, got it into the game, then it'll work. We'll have a more advanced search than Modio can provide. And also, once we have community repositories, we can't expect everyone who's hosting their own repository to implement like some kind of like a search level with a specific set of features. We can do a little bit, but we can't ask too much. So yeah, that's all in flux at the moment. That's good. I'm doing localization. That was one of the things that had really held up tags, was when we were doing that and getting into the search, we were looking at the representation of tags, and immediately we were like, okay, so you have this tag in this language, but in this other language, that tag doesn't make sense. And it would be these two tags or this one tag. And so like getting into localization last year was one of the things we needed to do before we could get tagging right. So that was another big thing. I'm going to do a little demo in a second with some of that. Pavel's also been working away on a variety of things in the back end. The thing that will probably most visible soonish will be a new news feed at the front of the game, which can support media and things like this. Sorry, I'm just seeing. I saw something in the chat about freezing, and I'm hoping that's to do with the game. Okay, then we will talk about that later. And so yes, he's doing some things there to make sure that, like, basically just streamlining release process for us, so we can write one set of release notes and push them out to multiple places a lot more easily than we're doing right now, because it's rather manual. And yeah, so that's more things on that side. I'm gonna actually risk forgetting some other stuff that's really important I should have covered, and so sorry to anyone I've left out, but I'll do a quick demo of a couple of things. So Panda, yeah, if you could kick us over to my PC, and let me know when that's up. Cool. Yeah, let's start off with more frame stuff, because that's the most visually interesting. Now I just kicked out this build, so hopefully it'll work, even if it isn't suitable for release. Okay. All right. So the idea with the range limiting stuff is that you want to be able to control what your party sees. And so it's a case of limiting. Well, that is saving now. Nice. And so it's being able to set those limits on particular creatures. So what we would be able to do, this needs some work, obviously, but this is part of the UI stuff that we haven't finished yet, is this is talking about limiting player vision and how we can limit the range that people can see. And so you can set, like, default is what we have now. This will be, if you just create a campaign, this is what vision will be like initially. I am forgetting how to speak. And so things are perfectly normal. If I go into player mode, you can see this is just like TaleSpire all the time. Go back to GM mode. I can come down here and I can say, okay, the players can only see what the creatures in the party can see. So if you have 5 people and they each have a creature, they can only see, they can see what everyone else sees, basically. There's one more setting in here. I'll demo this a bit better in a second. There's one more setting in here, which is players' creatures. This means that a person can only see what their creatures can see. So they can't see what the rest of the party can see. That might be useful in a certain kind of dungeon crawl. Again, this is all a stopgap because we don't have Fog of War. Fog of War is a real stinker. And we've wanted to do a good job with that. And that's just going to take some engineering time when we get into it. But we hating the fact that you're having to wait. So this is a stopgap thing. So like, let's have a look. If I can go in here, this creature belongs to a player, which means then I can go here. This UI will appear and we have sight range and I can do this. So this is saying how far this creature can see. And when you're happy with what it is, you let go. And then as a GM, if you hover over anything that has a vision limit, it will show you what your players can see. So because we're in party mode, we can see what this guy can see and what this guy can see. Because this guy's range is so large, I'm going to just go and set this down so it works as a slightly better demo. There we go. That's a bit more limited. Now, if I hover, you should see there's a dark area. I can't gesture with the mouse. That's really annoying because as soon as I come off, it stops hovering. But on the left, you can see a circle of vision, and on the right, you can see a circle of vision. Hopefully, you can see there's a big graying out in the middle. And obviously, as a player, you see something like this. So this is what the party can see. So I can move around, and in real time, everything's just updating. I can see that the bridge is down there, so I'm going to drop down on the bridge and then walk across. And then we can come up here, and you can see that the visions are kind of overlapping and combining. Just it's a basic thing, but it is working, and it scales well as well. So you can have really large levels, and this effect still performs properly. So that is that. So yeah, you'll be seeing some of this coming down. Like I say, the UI things, it's not my strong point. I need to sit down. We need to play test it. One of the things that I'm pretty sure is wrong right now is you see how the kind of vision stuff like animates in. I think that's a bit too much every time you mouse over. So we might have to go for something subtler. But yeah, that's on the to-dos. And then there's bug stuff and more performance stuff because we're doing a little more work than we necessarily need to when the thing's not enabled. So we just need to add a switch for some stuff. Yeah, so that is vision kind of limitations. Other things actually we need to do on that, we've got to get working with water, so it chops water nicely. And also fog has some issues right now, which will be, yeah, the fog one's going to be trickier than the water. So we'll get to that. All right, so this time I'm going to go into windowed mode and pick some, let's see, is that going to be enough? Hopefully. Oh yeah, keep this. Right. So we need to be able to support all languages, or as many as we can. We need to be able to support having professional translations, official ones that we're paying for. And because we can't do everything, we need there to be, and also because, like, frankly, you guys can move a lot faster than we can. We need to be able to have community translations. And so that's something I've been working on in the background. So yes, this is currently kind of, there's a box over this in the current build, which means you can't click these things, but this stuff is working its way into master very quickly. You can pick a language. So if you have a language set up, you can do that. But what's going to be more interesting and what I want to demo now is that we have the basics in for translation. So what we can do is we can go in here. We can start creating a new translation. So I might want to say, there's a number of things here. Picking the language you're translating to is mandatory, but there's 2 other optional fields that I'll get into as well. Right now, we only support like this particular set of languages, like as potential translations. We also want to be able to have a thing where if you're going to do Klingon, that's not in this list. So we need a kind of arbitrary one where you can just type in, okay, it's this language. It'll have slight differences in functionality, but nothing major. The main thing is that, like, if you have, for example, let's just get into it. I'm going to do if I was going to do a British translation, so I'm tired of the kind of the American English everywhere, and I want to find English. Okay, so that's the English language translation. We've already got one of those, an English US one. So I can also pick a country. So I can go in here and I can say, okay, United Kingdom is one I want to specialize. Also, there's languages where you have multiple scripts within the same language, and you might want to pick that. So a script system down here allows you to pick that. Now, I could select Latin from here, which is what we're using. But right now, I don't need to specify that, and that keeps this more general. So I click accept here, and we get this file. This is the text file, which is the translation file for British English, and you can see it's here. So if I click on this, you're not going to notice any different, because what it's doing is if there isn't a translation, it's falling back to the US one, because that's currently set as the default. Sanskrit, yes, gotta love the. I'm glad to see someone shouting out Sanskrit. That'll be really cool. We need to do our font work as well to get more script stuff in there. That will be the subject of the next bi-monthly banter, because we've got some things to land before that happens. But what I want to show you is that we've tried to make this a little nice to work with, even though my resolution here isn't awesome. Let's see if I can do this. Let's say we want to translate this little begin button down here. So this one down here, I can come in here. Let's look for begin. Oh, there we go. So you can see there's an ID. That's everything that's translatable in the game has a unique ID. You have a path here. This is a context. It's to give you an idea of how to translate it. And this becomes really important in a lot of languages because, okay, so begin in English means something, but sometimes like the context can completely change the word you want to use. And I have some great examples for this I could think of if I wasn't on stream right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this to beans. I'm going to click save, and you can see immediately we pick that up in the game. And again, if this is gone, it will default back to falling through to the other language. So this is something that you should be able to do interactively in any text editor. We're also going to work on export for I can't remember what they're called. I think it's cat tools, the like translation tools used by people in industry. A lot of those have support for kind of JSON import. So what I'd like to do is find a translator to work with, and then kind of do some stuff there to make an export that works well for them. But that is going to take a little bit of time as well, because we'd have to find the right person. We've got people in mind, but yeah, or at least I have some people in the Rolodex. So yes, this is how easy it is to do a translation. Then you can come back in here and switch back to whichever. There's also merging. So if I'll close this now just to make it a little less confusing. What you can do, so over time, man, there's too many things in my head right now. Over time, the game's going to change. There's going to be more things to translate. Some old things are going to get deprecated. So there's going to be new things that need to go into this text file. To update this text file, all you do is come in here and say, this text file, merge in the latest. This has now been updated with all the latest stuff, and it's removed anything that was irrelevant. What you can also do is say, like, because all these translations are empty, maybe you're doing a localization which is almost the same, and you don't want to have to deal with a fallback. What you can do is come in here, and I can say, okay, I want to use the US version as the default. Fill in all of these with the US version, basically. So if I do merge, and then I come back in here, you can see that they're now all filled in. So yeah, we have some tools for this. We want to get them out to you as soon as possible. We want to do a little bit of font stuff first, but yes. What we'll then be able to do, a few steps down the line, is get those translations into the mod system, so you can download translations from each other. That merge tool also means that if you are working on like a French translation, you find someone else that's working on a French translation, and you want to merge your work and start working as a team, you can do that with that tool. And then you can like put it in a version control system somewhere, and you can work together more easily. So I'm hoping that this is a good place to start. Yeah, I hope it's something. So we'll see how that goes. That I think is the demo stuff. So we can come off that, go back to the other stream and do questions.
Yeah, say, Jason, but do you
Oh.
have anything you'd like to update with before we jump into questions?
Oh, sorry.
Not much. I'm working on right now a new tile set, and be on the lookout for that. Should be some info soon. It's mainly an Underdark kind of thing, our little spin on the Underdark. So it'll be kind of an expansion on like the cave set, the cavern set, and yeah, should be cool. I'm also playing around with some spatial audio creators and like 3D binaural stuff, which is like basically surround sound for headphones, so you can have things up above, behind, that kind of stuff. So for ambient audio, I might try to work on something with like the upcoming set for like underground, make it all kind of like weird, and you know how like the Underdark is supposed to be just this otherworldly, place. So make it all nice and dreamlike. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. And that's about it for me. I was out for most of January, just personal stuff. So not a lot, done, but it's all good. And we're back in business. And now that Hannah's back, yeah, you're probably going to see an ramping up in content. So
Fantastic. But yeah, what I've seen so far about the with the set you're working on, at least it's going to be excited about it. So it's going to be great.
yeah, should be cool.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and get into our Q&A. We already have a lot of submissions. As a reminder, people, you can go ahead and do !Q followed by your question, and it will be added into our question queue. So first up, we have one from Finland who asks, instead of playing only one music on loop, could we maybe have a feature where we could have like a different playlist inside of an atmosphere block so it doesn't get too repetitive if we go into a bigger combat scenario or something like that?
Not sure if you want to answer that, Jace, but I know.
Oh no, go ahead. You and I have been talking about this.
Yeah, exactly. We're with you. We have some ideas. They need to be sketched out and then get approved. And the kind of, as long as they need to fit, they need to feel gamey, so it's not just an awkward music player kind of crammed into a small space. But yes, we would like to do something there.
The whole audio section of TaleSpire, it's working, it's good, but yeah, there's we definitely want to improve on it, and there will absolutely be improvements. So, and this is absolutely one of them.
Cool.
Okay. Next up, Finland also asks, and on a tangent about atmosphere blocks, could we maybe be able to move them around after placing them, and also change their colors? I like to have 1 or 2 for fights and another 1 or 2 for exploration mode, and sometimes I mix them up because they're all the same color.
I mean, those seem like really good suggestions, and it's more of like where to fit it in sort of the things that we're doing. I'm not entirely sure how much work it would be. We would have to add colors, obviously, as a concept on the server. We do have UI for doing color changes, so that's okay. And as far as like moving them after placement, can't you already do that?
Yeah, that's what I was like. Oh, did we forget to do movement post? I thought we had that before.
Yeah, because that was like one of those things that I remember when we first did them. Like, oh yeah, we need to be able to move these. A strange ship we.
Uh-oh. Or if it broke somewhere and we didn't.
I mean, you can't just grab them. I think it might be an edit or something like that. It might feel better if you could just grab them in a way, but then again,
yeah, kind of like another piece, right?
If it's not there now, it's definitely on the queue.
Chat is saying, don't think you can do it. So,
balls.
All
right,
because that was definitely one of my pet peeves at the time when we couldn't. So
okay,
yeah. No, I'm not seeing a good way to grab them right now.
Yeah, Chris is currently trying.
So what does edit mean? Does it just open the?
Yeah, it just opens this side.
Oh,
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
this might just
Hey,
have gotten a bump
Yeah.
up the priority list.
Yeah.
Th-
Okay. That sounds
Oh, wow.
that sounds very
I
tractable.
even
There
feel
might
like
even
I've
be
done
code
that.
for it. Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
might
I
even
feel
be
like
that we
I feel
like
like we've done that.
yeah. Well, that's embarrassing. Nice.
Let's okay. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Make a
Ruh-roh,
note, make sure
indeed.
we add it to regression testing.
Ah,
Yeah, that script is the script
Can't
grows.
All right then.
all right, so at least the moving part should be a thing that we should be
Actually,
able to
I
do.
can speak to the color thing because the blocks are only stored in the boards, so there's no server changes we need to do there. We do want to do a server thing so we can support so we can properly persist player color stuff, but we can do the one thing I will say to the community is like color tinting is really cool, but down the line we also would need like color tinting is not accessible necessarily. It's very useful, but you generally want to pair that with some kind of other visual that allows people who can't see those colors to still be able to work with this stuff, whether that's a tiny icon or something like this that you can pick. Yeah, so we would have to think about that as well, but that could be like stage one and then we add these things on. Accessibility.
True, but yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So yeah, we might have to, like, we're clearly visiting atmosphere blocks soon. So yeah, maybe we can look into that. At least it's a great feature request.
Okay. Our next question comes from Severe, who asks, is there any way we can assist with current dev tasks, like the tedious tagging system?
I can speak to the tagging system. No, so on the implementation side, like that's kind of we're plugging away at that. The big thing I'm worried about is that you guys have been so productive. There's so many miniatures, and they won't have tags to begin with, right? How do we, as a community, bring the tags up on everything else? Now, I've wanted to support. Again, this is like down the line. I'm not sure when this will land, but I want to be able to have it so that you can provide translations to other people's stuff. Is that also something we could do for tagging? I'm not sure because I don't know how. We definitely couldn't push that to Modio because the only person who can make those changes up there, other than the person who owns the accounts and stuff, other than us basically going in and manhandling all these things, is the creator of the mod. But yeah, some way of I don't know. So some kind of community effort to basically donate tagging information to everyone to existing mods would be amazing, but I don't know what that looks like yet. So I'd be up for hearing your suggestions on what that could look like. If you've seen any other community do something like that, where they've introduced tagging later and then had to tag like a whole bunch of content, I would love some ideas. Yeah, and then the other dev stuff.
I'll say, fun fact, that was actually also, it wasn't the next question in the queue. The next question Severe had in the queue was related to adding community tags for, like, the exact same thing you were just talking about.
Oh, right. Yeah. And that's a community tags is well, depending on what we're meaning there. Community defined tags will be going into mods. That's something we support.
I more meant people updating the community tags because community authors may not get around to it with their thousands of minis.
Yeah, that's just like, yeah, I'm not sure we can actually put those tags onto other people's content, but like we could assemble them and then send them to people and say, hey. And then you get folks like, because there are some creators who are like prodigious. So you like Gone Splitters and stuff like this has like 1,000 minis or something up there. That would be someone I'm sure who is open to receiving donated tags. So maybe we can do something to get a chunk of those done. Not sure.
Okay. Command Mine asks, will TaleWeaver allow us to add custom props / tiles in the future?
Yes.
All right. Simple enough. Linkido R asks, you planning on putting some vision range for players, as we saw earlier today? 45-foot circle or cone, that would be amazing, so my players will not so easily see the things to come. So yeah, you saw that firsthand here.
Yeah, we'll be sticking with the sphere. The thing with cone is like if you have anything just aligned to where the miniature is, then it becomes a case of finagling the miniature really exactly to be able to represent what you want. And then also, how do you handle elevation, right? So we're going to do the sphere, and then combined with the rulers, that's enough tools to be able to work out attacks and things like this. But yeah, and your English is grand, so no worries.
Monophos asks, since a Titan size has been added to D&D 5e 2024, would there be a plan to introduce the new size for minis?
There's I haven't actually played around with doing larger sized minis for a while. There are feels like there might be a path to allow for somewhat larger minis. We would have to test that a little bit, I think. There is going to be some updates to the movement systems for minis, especially for how they're moved sort of like by keyboard. And yeah, it sounds like that might be a good time to also look into the sizing, whether or not it makes sense to push that even larger, because it is fun to have really large miniatures. The base, like, is already a bit of a problem on the larger ones, so that's something to have to look into.
Like, might need to treat it like a prop, where you just like you can rotate it. It's like
yeah,
jig, 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 jig. So it's like not so, because like, oh my gosh, yeah, they'd be unwieldy at like your tiny little mouse moving around this gigantic thing on the board. That's just
yeah.
The rotation.
It's also like I'm just thinking out loud now, but there might be something in sort of maybe converting it to more of the like the flying base type of thing. So at least that you can sort of naturally see through it, because the physicality of it is like it's still important to me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like if there's not a feature request for it, I would suggest like putting one in and sort of like trying like pushing it upwards the ranks. Because I mentioned this last time that like the last bi-monthly Banter, but I have been looking really hard at the feature request list and what's on top there to try to make sure that we, at least I look at those first and try when I decide what to do next, basically. So try pushing them up there. It helps a lot.
Okay. Our next question comes from Command Mind. Are there any plans for adding dynamic time changes or day-night cycles to the board settings?
It's been one of those things that pops up in at least my mind sometimes. The probably because we technically have a day-night cycle, but like, what does that mean in the context of, because time moves differently while you're playing. Like if you're stopping and you're looking at some details and stuff like that, the tends to move slowly if you're traveling. So it's like, what determines passage of time in a sensible way for a game, basically. So I have, like, personally, I've had a hard time like figuring out how we would make that work in the context of the game. What if it's just a question also, like, can I input a time and that converts into, so let's say that you want to move the time forward to like 4 p.m, then and putting in a time that sort of represent that's a thing, assuming the time on this whatever world you're at is like works as our 24-hour clock and type like that. So there's a lot of questions about like how we would
what time
how
of
we
year?
would support it.
The time of year, like
time of year and
store
stuff
time
like that, so.
information too. And
Is it a flat Earth?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's the Discworld, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just haven't found, like, whenever I think about it and like how cool it would be for things to pass in that way, I just haven't been able to land on the system that makes sense in the context of tabletop role playing. But if people feel like they have a good sense of what that might be, feel feel free to post suggestions and also, once again, feedback boards for feature requests.
Yeah, Baldrax is saying getting something into the Symbiote API to affect sun stuff, and that would be that would be a great way to do it, because then you guys can do the experiments and we can learn from you.
Very true. That's that's the thing we can put down at least, or maybe that's a feature request as well. It seems, as far as board modification things, it seems fairly safe. I'll make a note of it when
Okay. Our next question comes from Lemurian Settler, who asks, I know of TaleSpire communities on Reddit, Discord, Twitch, YouTube, and to a degree, Facebook, Instagram, and Steam. Are there other places online TaleSpire is discussed, social media channels, or forums? We do have a Blue Sky that has been getting more speed lately.
Yeah, that would be that's definitely the place to have a look. I mean, that's the thing, because we're a small team, like it's overwhelming being in so many places. So the Discord really is the place we're at most. We keep a kind of an eye on the various places, and the moderators are really the ones who are keeping the eyes in the various places, and they do an amazing job. We as you see, like the Steam stuff we kind of leave to the community, other than just light moderation. So we're not answering as many questions there. We prefer to be doing this, and obviously active as much as we can be in the Discord.
Yeah. All right. Our next is from War 101. I've been using TaleSpire to run a short Shadow Dark campaign the last few months and have been loving it. I know the current lighting system limits the radius on light sources due to performance restrictions. Any chance of an upgraded lighting system in the future that would allow for 30-foot radius of torchlight?
So we do want to make changes to like how the light works, both on static lights and also the torch light and things like that. For the longest time, I know I've discussed this a few times as far as the reasons why we haven't done that earlier, and it's one of those things where large lights tend to like be a problem. Not just, well, performance wise is one thing, and then there's the visual part of it, and I'd be very timid about allowing lights to go that far. The other thing is fall-offs of lights, which is something we have some control over, to make sure that it doesn't blow out the center of it when you're sort of using the Unity static, like the Unity standard lighting, and having the fall-off be more flat. Those are things that we need to look at, and I don't know the time frame of this stuff, but it is something that we need to address. At least that's what.
Yeah, for now, if because we are going to be running Shadow Dark too, and we run Shadow Dark ourselves, and I'm just going to be using the sight limitation for the 30-foot radius of torchlight. That'll probably, for the foreseeable future, we're probably going to release that sight limitation before any kind of like changes to the lighting. So if you continue to run Shadow Dark, just use that for sure. Shadow Dark is cool, man. I personally, I've been digging it myself.
I saw a comment in the chat from Slow Dive fans talking about Unity 6, and that's one of the kind of considerations. Is either we stay on the Unity version we are, in which case we basically have to make a ton of stuff ourselves. This is like why we haven't seen GPU occlusion culling, because I just haven't had time to do it with the other things. But if we went to Unity 6, technically we should be able to get some of those things from them. Now, we've been here before. We've had versions of Unity say, "Hey, chat, this new thing, and it works great now," and it has been horrible, horrifying and horrible. And so it's been so. It's going to be a difficult one. If we switch over to the new version of Unity, basically you can expect me not to be able to produce anything else for about 6 months, because I'll have to just rewrite a ton of stuff that I've done before. So I've been kind of psyching myself up for that. We want to get some more features out before I stop doing features for a while. Yeah, it's a big one, but the wins could be really large, and yeah.
We have been talking about this internally for a while, and it sounds like it feels like it's like once we've handled most of the large features, then we can do we can like try to maybe move to Unity 6 to get some of those spoons, because it is one of the things that's been in my mind holding back the lighting stuff, but also over the past couple of years I've become more. I've softened up a little bit when it comes to that stuff, like how much I should not care. I wouldn't call it that, but how much how strict I should be on a lot of those things, and it's probably just one of those things what we have to do. There are feature requests for this. Go over, vote them up, make them visible. Once they're up there, and it's like going to be easier to go like, okay, let's handle this thing.
Okay.
Nice.
Next, Lemurian Settler. Multicolored lights, multicolored water tiles, or more variety in roof tiles. Which is likely to come first?
Oh, I can actually. I would say multicolored lights. That is technically possible now. Like, there's some things I would have to do, but like, yeah, basically there's some bugs that I have to fix there's some bugs I have to fix in our scripting system to allow that to be possible. But yeah.
Okay. Next, Monophos asks, with the weather system on the roadmap, can you briefly talk about how you'll be implementing it? Will it be on the left side options tab, buttons on the screen to activate, add sound effects, etc., etc.?
The way I've imagined weather working would be as an extension of like Atmosphere, and sort of having more options there. And it might be a good time to sort of like look at some of those options to begin with, and especially some of the drop down things, and see whether or not there are better ways of doing those. As far as like sound effects, I like personally, I will always imagine that if you increase the wind, you'll get wind. If you increase the rain, you get like rain, snow, and stuff like that, and all of those can layer on top of each other. That's how I imagined it working. Wind direction would change the like how the particles flow, etc., etc. The things that are technical challenges that I would love to see is things like snow gathering on the ground that's not covered, basically. Things like that would be that it's an expensive effect, but it would also be really cool. So that's how I'd imagine the weather system getting implemented, is in the context of atmosphere plots. Now, once we start implementing it, it might turn out that that's all wrong, and then we'll change our minds. So,
Severay asks,
you have a thought?
I was remembering it was slightly tangential, but being like having a library of sound effects down the bottom you can click and just place on the board as well is something that we can mock that up anyway. No, I'm not going to say that, but yeah, I should mock some of that up, because that'd be sick. Really cool.
Okay. Severay asks, just a small suggestion for future banter streams: name tags / labels for everyone on the stream for those unfamiliar. It's been something that's been on my radar for a while. I have never made anything that has been satisfactory. So maybe I need one of the official artists to make me something pretty.
Hey, look at that. Excuse me.
The Penguin of Dooms asks, how difficult would a paint / color feature be to change the colors of assets in the game?
As in props and like basically coloring props and stuff like that.
Asset tinting.
Yeah, that's an absolutely massive undertaking, unfortunately. So it's we would have to if we did that and painting assets and things like that, because this is the thing that we're planning on doing with the characters and have been planning to do with the characters for a while. At which point we've sort of made the characters with that in mind. We would have to touch every single asset basically again, and not for like a small amount of time, but for quite a significant amount of time. And then this, like, we have the original ones, and then like do we try to recreate those with like only color mask, or do we have a separate shader for those things? And so like, these are like one of the things and one of the reasons why we haven't done anything colorization on props and tiles, and not the main reason why we haven't started on the character stuff, but it is, yeah, it's a massive undertaking. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Great question though.
Our next question comes from a Lemurian settler who asks, some pieces, like rocks and water and landscape, think snow and sand dunes, would benefit from larger sizes. Slabs help with this, but are there plans for more, or perhaps is there a reason why natural tiles are kept small?
Mainly because the the terrain system. A lot of the natural stuff that you see in game was supposed to be, and is in some sense, temporary. But even after the terrain system, we might keep some of them around. That being said, I think there is a limit that we have in TaleWeaver that's like, what is it, like 4x4 or 8x8 unit?
So yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, it's to do with yeah.
It's 8x8.
8x8, yeah.
Yep.
And now
That's the biggest, and that's the biggest we could have.
That being said, we could, and I hear what you're saying, and really, it would be great to create larger pieces for people to just the boom, and there you go, you know, instead of like. So, and whether that's gonna, you know, but that's the thing. The terrain system itself should help with that kind of
just
building.
to not terrify the people in chat. We're not removing the tiles. I just saw temporary question mark exclamation mark. They're all staying. It's
they were staying, but it was just something like that in the beginning. It was like, okay, yeah. I mean, you know, like a lot of the natural like the natures, like the grass tiles, like, yeah, that was for a stream that I did, and then we were like, don't worry, you know, the terrain system will get rid of them, and that was, you know, a long time ago. And they've been, and you know, for whatever, you know, it's all good. Yeah, it's just funny. Yeah,
even with the terrain stuff, those, there's still going to be value in those tiles. And yeah, so we're not going to be deprecating those.
Our next
Actually, I forgot what the question was. Was there anything else I should fill in on that?
No, that was
no, just larger size tiles. Like,
yeah.
Just like, you know, instead of like the small kind of, you know, small props.
Well, actually,
like
I can. I just, because I saw Gaza helpfully giving the kind of party line we've been saying. Yeah, we called it a foam terrain system before because of how we were envisaging how the terrain thing would work. We've that kind of term, we've stopped using the foam terrain thing. We don't talk about that internally anymore because that was a specific way that we were thinking about doing the terrains. And that is, we've since moved on to other ideas, or at least, I haven't heard any of us say that in a long time.
Yeah, so just to sort of give my take on that. The visual appearance of it is still very much like the akin to what a foam terrain would be. So it's the inspiration for it is still like the types of war table terrains that you would cut out of foams. So that's actually, to me, that was always where the term came from.
Okay. Nice. That's all right. Then that's me. That's just I've attached.
No, that's fair. Head. I just haven't referred to it as that for a long time because initially it was very important to like describe it how it's supposed to look, and that's still very much how I'd love for that to look. And the initial testing are actually looking pretty decent as far as being able to achieve something like that.
Yeah, man, we've seen it. We've seen it. And
well,
I really wanted Jonny to, but it's all good. No, it's good. And from what we have so far, what Jonny has been working on has been very exciting. But it is very much, like he said in the beginning of the stream, a work in progress and testing and stuff like that. But there's something brewing, man. I'm super duper excited about it because I'm not doing anything. This is all him. So I'm just as excited.
Well, at
as
the
you
moment,
guys are.
it's I'm doing the experiment, and then hopefully I can take it to the point where it looks the way that I'd like it to, and then I'm going to start bugging Chris about making it like good.
I see. Yeah.
Okay. Hutch Million asks, hoping to get an update on the cube measuring tool. Thank you.
It's on a branch. It needs someone with an artistic bent to look at it and make it
So
look
this
nice.
is not me. Hold on.
Sorry, dude.
Oh, that's box measuring tool.
I said that very confidently. I'm pretty sure I got it working, and then it needed a look at. I will double check that to make sure I'm not just throwing you.
I
throwing you
think
under the
I
bus
remember that being the
prematurely.
case. I made a note of that.
Please stand by so I can run you down later. Beep,
Okay.
beep.
So yeah, that's
Right.
sounds like it's on me.
Okay. Lemurian Settler asks, how likely is an oops, we forgot pack that expands current sets? Absolutely love so much of the new stuff, like the Shogun set,
Yeah.
but dying for more 1x1 versions of certain walls. Fantastic job on all the latest tile sets, really.
Thank you. So that is one of the things. Hannah's coming back, and that was like on her, that was kind of like on the docket for her. She was going to kind of go through some of the tile sets and expand on them. And, I might be helping her with that too, just to kind of just get those fleshed out. So that's happening this year.
That's confident.
Cool. I like the name of it. Like oops,
Yes,
we forgot
oops, we forgot. That's
01,
definitely
oops,
what
we
it's
forgot 02.
Oops,
That's
all walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Final V2. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Final V2. Yeah.
Heck.
Let's add to the finals. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason Blob asks, is the team open to community playtesting of upcoming stuff to help alleviate some testing load on the dev team and offer external perspective?
I would say no. Generally because the kind of the point of the testing, we put things out for beta when we're ready for kind of community testing. The earlier stuff, it's a little too soft and raw and all that kind of stuff, so we keep that in house.
Yeah, we have had some features go out in sort of experimental that people have tested out and figured out that we have to rethink it type of thing. And no, it's so that can happen in the future again, like that we put out stuff that's experimental and we're not entirely sure about that, we might ask for feedback on and stuff like that. So it's basically the beta.
I was not laughing at you there. Forge of Law said, isn't that technically what TaleSpire is right now? And that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Okay.
Good timing of that laughter though.
Just make it
Great.
Sorry.
Our next question is from Monophos, who asks, any developments on the game freezing after hopping into any boards?
I apologize. I'm not aware of this one, and this would definitely be on me.
I think I saw some chatter where they talked about the first time they hop into a board, the game freezes.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, that could be so many things because I add so many bugs. I'm not sure what that is right now, but if you've got a bug report, that's great. We will get to it. No more info. Sorry.
Okay. Lemurian Settler asks, why is fog not in atmosphere settings? Love fog.
That was my bad. Yes,
Was
I think it was anyway. I thought it was.
I think it might have been a joint. A joint thing.
I thought.
I'm not willing to give you all the crap for that.
Okay, one. Yeah, I thought it was something to do with I hadn't got it into the backend representation, and so we couldn't store it with the other stuff, and so we just had to put it separately for then. And then I was meant to go back and do something about that, and I have not.
All right, let's,
But now we've got Borodust, so I can say, hey,
Yeah.
fix my mistakes.
Okay, so like I'm just gonna add a note under our can't move atmosphere blocks, just as a mental note of something that we might be able to look at. Fog under atmosphere.
Treat.
Okay. Monophos asks, would there be any plans to second tier or second page to the mini shelf at the bottom of the screen? I embarrassingly save a lot of minis saved from my campaign, but I need more. Sorry for shouting.
Oh, the bottom bar. Yeah. That's that whole that is due a rework, and it has been for a long time. But yes.
Yeah, I like it. One of the absolute oldest things that's in there, although it has been upgraded sometimes to actually stay working.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, adding it was always meant to have more than a single line, but because it's such a fraction of the it gets such a fraction of the use that we thought it would originally have. It's just been left there. So yes, that is that's a thing.
Yeah. Sorry, Jason, you were going to say something else.
Oh no, I was just gonna make a joke.
Nope.
You can just like expand it so it looks like some WoW Raider, where it's just like all the buttons everywhere.
Oh yeah. It's just like expanded up the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to go through them, I'm not sure like what that would require on data storage wise, but to be able to swap those out.
I have a thing to have that meeting. It is this is also part for the folks who might be newer. One of the things we're wanting to do for a long time is allow you to, like how you can right click and grab and sample things. We're wanting to make that a more universal metaphor, so you can grab something and put it in chat, and you can like put it into more of it like an inventory that belongs to a creature or a player, and then have quantities on those things and stuff like that. There are some decisions to be made there, and they just need to be made. But they're not trivial because they flow through a whole bunch of systems. But yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's a very universal concept that we've been thinking about implemented from the get-go, basically. So yeah, I can't give you any thoughts on like when that is going to happen. But having more of those, like being able to flip through multiple of those, sounds useful.
Okay. Our next question, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce your username. Was, will there be a category in Modio for translations and a community browser in TaleSpire to install them?
That's what I want to do.
I think that's actually Gaza's username, if I recall correctly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so yes, simple. X Levitin asks, zoom out limit might be more helpful than distance visibility limit for some games. Something to consider.
Yep.
Okay. Pretive asks, what are the chances of getting to link hide volumes together to make custom shapes that can all be toggled at once? Fog of War would be great, but this would elevate hide volumes to a great point that would hold off the need for that, especially in combination with the new player vision stuff.
Yeah. Hide volume combining. It is where your mind goes to first when it's like, hey, I need a bunch of these turned on or off. I don't particularly like it in terms of just like it's just extra. You have to construct a bunch of stuff and then link them all. It's very busy worky, and I'm not sure. It's tricky when you start linking things together. Then it has implications on. Okay, if you link together enough of them, which some of you will, because I know you, part of the board can be loaded in while another part of the board is not loaded in. So if you have half of it loaded in and you flick that state, and then the other part isn't loaded in, how does that information get there? The way the data model set up doesn't it makes streaming data difficult, and I don't know what to do about that, to be honest. Yeah, so I don't think that's actually. There are versions that are very simple to do, but doing that would be very hard. So that kind of stops the feature because you can't make it work in all cases, I think. What would be nice is if we're going to keep with the hide volumes, would to be allow you to draw out hide volumes that are different shapes, and then you've got a lot more flexibility and you don't need to do the linking thing. I'm not. Yeah, I think that might be easier to do than the other one. Yeah.
Okay. Touch Million asks, could you combine the current line measurement tool and mini movement? A way to grab a mini, drag with measurement shown, and right-click to place a measurement point pivot to continue your measurements.
Oh. It's a feature request.
Yeah. I can see that. Yep. Get it up there.
The old poop ruler.
Okay. The Penguin of Dooms asks, obligatory mini maker status question.
Yeah. No status updates since last time. So just keep asking every time.
Genghis asks, hi guys, for Jason, multiple audio ambient sound effects too would be cool, especially rolling thunder.
Yeah. Audio, ambient sound effects, rolling thunder. Yeah, man. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm probably gonna get back into doing some audio stuff with the THX surround plugin that I got. I've been playing around with it. So yeah, rolling thunder, no rain sounds cool because yeah, there should be a lot of that in the distance, man. If you're in a cool, like a proper fantasy setting, absolutely. With like, you know, some person flying a giant sword and just being like, wow, and thunder, yeah, going off. So yeah, rolling thunder, absolutely. That'll be something I work on.
Okay.
Yeah, it would make sense to implement thunder into the weather system as well.
Yeah.
Linkidio R asks, are you planning to add more spell animations?
Yes. No timeline, unfortunately.
Tuck Zero asks, are you planning to add more keyboard shortcuts for controlling minis? For example, toggling flashlight, attacking, gestures, and other actions.
Ooh. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do with the inventory system that we were talking about earlier was being able to map sort of actions from miniatures down, because that's something that you could do with Neverwinter Nights, which I really liked. So basically being able to take things and then drag them down from miniatures to be able to do that. So then it probably would make sense to be able to map your inventory potentially to keys, and so that you can drag them down and then you can use it that way, which is quite common in games. But I think, yeah, making things mappable. I mean, I guess okay. It's really it's a bit tedious to set up maps for things. I'm saying that because I also know now that I've worked with the Unity input system in its current state rather than when we started, now it's really easy. But the way that we built it was, because it was hard at the time, makes it a bit sort of a little bit more tedious to set up. So just having a bunch of hotkeys that are unbind and that you can bind, that does certain things. It feels like it might be a bit tricky to maintain, though. I don't think it's something we'll be doing. We're probably more likely to do what I mentioned in the beginning, to have functions be mapped to your inventory and being able to map those two. is what I'm thinking. Now I'm just sort of making decisions here on behalf of, but it's not something I'm just thinking out loud.
There's chatter about putting the number keys on the hotbar down at the bottom and then
Hell yeah.
utilizing it for that.
I mean,
Ah,
that sounds like it could be done.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what's up there right now, but yeah, no, that sounds like it could be done.
Okay. Tuck Zero asks, have you considered collaborating with other smaller game studios for asset DLCs? Many Unity games have beautiful assets that would fit in TaleSpire well.
Yeah, so it's the fitting in TaleSpire well. I'm not entirely sure about. But that's also where we're a bit of a stickler on sort of what we've been doing. Yeah, there's definitely studios that could handle that load. But I found one thing is like buying assets that are pre-made. Another thing is working with a studio that can produce assets. Like my past experience with doing that hasn't been great as far as like the amount of oversight and stuff like that that's required, taking away from the things. So I don't think that's something we'll be doing.
Okay. Tuck Zero asks, what rendering upgrades would you like to explore in the future? Any features like global illumination, anti-aliasing with upscaling, particle systems, etc.
I mean, yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, we're really. I'm really excited to be doing a particle system, or for us to be doing a particle system. I'm putting together a spec for that at the moment. That is something that will arrive before the Unity. But if we were to move to Unity 6, we would have access to their particle system. But we're looking at doing the particle system before we do that. Therefore, yeah, we're going to do something there. Global illumination is just cool, but and also we want to run on lower end machines as well. We need TaleSpire to get faster, not slower. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
upscaling though.
And just to sort of like say, Unity does have a particle system. We just need the good one.
Yeah.
And the old one is it's a thing for sure. But yeah, the visual effect graph stuff is really cool.
Leading in from that, Jason Blob asks, speaking back to the Unity 6 level of upgrade, is ray tracing interesting to the future of TaleSpire?
Never been particularly interested in it personally. I mean, there are like certain effects that can be done with it. That's pretty cool. But yeah, relying on it would be a mistake, of course. But yeah, no, I'd say personally no to that one, but that can change.
And just for the subtleties on it as well, when you're talking about ray tracing, I'm assuming you're talking about the kind of modern, like hardware supported ray tracing. Oh my god, I've forgotten how to speak. There are some visual effects that you can do in like that we might end up using, which technically do a bit of ray tracing inside, like ray tracing into the depth buffer or something like this. But no.
Okay. That guy Baldrix asks, when custom props / tiles are introduced, will there be a concept of asset packs? I would not want to subscribe to 30 different assets individually to get a new tile set.
Yes. Yeah. That's a short version is yes.
Okay. Feats of Dice asks, how feasible is the TaleSpire client to have maps or assets built by using AI, like ChatGPT?
Yeah, no, we're not going to have any of that stuff in our game because no. But if people want to do things with symbiotes, we're going to be providing API to allow you to interact with the board from that. So then it's that's as much as I can say charitably.
Okay.
I mean, you could always try asking it now and see what it says. But build me a TaleSpire map.
Tuck Zero says, small suggestion, would it be possible to have a small copy button in news blog posts when new asset packs is released? It would feature all new assets and the scene from the blog screenshot. It would be very convenient to quickly view all new assets.
That'd be very cute.
So basically attach a slab to the news post.
Yeah, that's actually something I thought about last time we did that, and for some reason I ended up not doing it, and I think it was just because I forgot. But absolutely having like including just a string of all the assets would be really useful, and I think we should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We should do that going forward.
Everyone remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the steel trap now.
All right, great. That's great. That's fantastic. No, I think that's a great idea.
It is.
Well,
Okay.
actually, seen as Buldrex mentioning on the previous AI thing, Buldrex is saying could be done already. Yeah, I could check out what Buldrex has been doing with board generation via. I can't remember what program he was using for that.
Houdini,
Do you remember?
I believe.
Houdini. That was sick. Yeah, check him out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Black with Magic asks, apologies for being late, but wanted to ask if there would be a chance we could get prop paneling assets similar to the cubicle wall to allow for more interesting floor plans or wall covering, like metal sheets or plywood.
Yes, I guess. Jason laughed there a little bit because you want to elaborate on it.
No. We tried it. I've tried. Okay, so last year I was trying to work on that mega sector, and that was actually part of what I wanted to do with the mega sector, was have these kind of veneers, these wall veneers that you'd be able to kind of like just slap on walls, and so you'd have like this base set, and then you'd have a bunch of veneers that you could. And man, it was not working out, and that was, if you guys, any of you guys who were here like a while ago when we were first kind of doing this stuff, you probably remember me saying like, no, I'm sorry, we were trying a bunch of different experiments and everything like that, and it just wasn't working out. So that's why we kind of shelved the mega sector for a bit. That was part of it, part of the reason. I'd love to revisit it, and because I still like the idea and it like snapping to a wall, but we don't have that capability right now. So lining them up to a wall and like getting it doesn't feel good when you're building, man, and it's very cumbersome. Like before we do something like that, I would like to talk to Jonny and Chris and see what we could do about kind of like having snap points on like walls or anything like that we could have kind of like some sort of universal thing where and you guys could just basically staple them real quick and not only make it to building quicker, but also just making it feel better too.
I remember that I was so surprised of how well the snapping system works, like and I've wanted to do experiments where we're able to do that with tiles. Things like roofs and stuff like that would benefit greatly from being able to do that. I just haven't like gotten to doing those tests. So it feels like this could also fall under the realm of that. Yeah, it's another thing on the to-do list.
Yeah.
Okay. Black with Magic asks, can we zoom the build camera in further? Sometimes it's still too far for my detail work. If you've seen some of Black with Magic's builds, they are
right.
Very
detailed.
detailed.
I know they are amazing.
I mean, maybe some modder can do it. Like it's I've made the camera system to be pretty accessible to mods, so hopefully. I don't know.
Hacking, folks.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a note of it and I'll think
Play
about
around.
it. Let's see. Being able to further. One of the issues is that we start like clipping into so many things. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a feature request for this, so do go and upvote that if you have.
Yeah, please do. And add your own 2 cents to it as well. So.
Black Wolf Magic asks, are there plans for additional neon light bars in other colors to add to sci-fi?
I'm just going to write that down because I think...
Oops, all light bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that comes to mind is like ways to handle variants of tiles and things like that, because we end up like cluttering the space with all of like variants and stuff. Oh, that's actually another thing. Okay, I'm going to just write that down in silence because I don't bring it up right now.
Yeah. We've talked about like just neon lights because like they're super important, and just how to do them. You know, so people can make signs and other things. That's like a completely different. It's so weird because it's it's very
It also
specific.
it sounds like a sorry, I didn't mean to talk over it, but
Yeah.
it sounds like it sounds like a feature request I might have seen
Yeah.
on the asset request thing. So I'd love to see that. Yeah, pushed up.
Okay. With 9 questions left in the queue and 15 minutes left of our time, I'm going to go ahead and close the question bot at the moment. So sorry for all those who did not get in, but we want to make sure that we get through the remaining questions and give them the time that they deserve. So yeah, close that down. And then our next one, it will be from the Penguins of Doom, who asks, will the new player vision feature have the discovered map grayed out, or will it be back again after, or will it be black again after moving away? I get Age of Empire 2 vibes from seeing it in action.
That's lovely. I love Age of Empires too. For like, yeah, this will be it will go away again when you move away. Persistent stuff is where things get trickier. When not in the small cases, but again, boards are big. Boards can be big. Like this because we've allowed things. Then whatever you build has to work on any scale. And so yes. So yeah, this one is meant to be a quick feature, even though it's taking me a bit longer than I hoped. So yes, we're trying to keep it simple. So no persistence, but we'll get there. Fog of War.
Linkiedo R asks, will be very cool to put some interactions when a mini touches a trap. Any thought about it? You're doing a great job, by the way.
Oh, thank you. We have thought about like triggers and things like that in the past. We just haven't haven't really delved into it too much because of just not having triggers and things like in game to begin with. But yeah, it's been on our minds.
Yeah,
feel free to elaborate.
Yeah, it makes me think of like when we were having those discussions before. It kind of requires a visual scripting system, like like one in space. You need to be able to wire things up in the board for it to, in my mind, to be able to do the kinds of things you'd want to be able to do beyond really, really trivial stuff. And yeah, that's a whole thing. That would just be a big old project. Sounds fun though.
Okay. Zoram24 asks, what functionality are you planning with the inventory system that has been mentioned? When I hear the term, I think player inventory for a system like D&D. I'm imagining it will be something different than that.
Yeah, so the things that that Chris mentioned earlier was sort of taking maybe was it like location positions and like being able to move them and post them in. So basically taking a lot of functionality from the game and being able to put them into various different inventories around. So you could have like a creature that is a central thing, and you can open it up and it has a bunch of effects associated with it that you can just easily spawn in and do things with. It might have a catchphrase that you want to like just run into shit chat, like things like that. So it's more of a dice rolls, and being able to sort of like have macros inside of that as well. So yeah, please add to it.
Yeah, and also just being able to so each of those little boxes. If you imagine the bookmark thing down the bottom, but with more slots, with it like expandable kind of thing, and belonging to different things. So you still get to keep your bookmark as like your collection as a player, but also like your creatures should be able to have their own little collections, and you should be able to move things between them. Each one should also have ideally a little optional quantity, because then what you can do is you can take something like the model that represents a pile of gold, and you could use that to represent how much gold you have, and then you can just say, okay, we've got 50 gold, and then you can have, by when you pull things out from there, you could have that count down that number potentially. So there's some experiments I want to do in that kind of realm. So it keeps it very loose. It doesn't tie it to any particular game system, but it gives you some stuff you can work with. Yeah, that would
So
be
basically,
sick.
like a bunch of like hotbars everywhere.
Yes, but like, but in a version that's nice and makes Johnny happy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Not just,
But like
hotbars
yeah,
everywhere.
imagining something different than an inventory system. It's essentially like
Yeah, it's
like the
kind of,
hotbar
I
at the
mean,
bottom that you can
you've got
interact with
slots
now.
and you
But
can put.
yeah,
I don't know where those will be on the screen, but that's the idea. It's just the idea that, like, as well, that we can put like damn near anything in there, like
Right.
like Jonny says, like it's
neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Pitufo Padifuso asks, when are we having more colors for assets like roofs?
Yeah, more roofs.
Yeah, we have to do different roofs. And
Yeah.
we have to work on more roofs. It's as simple as that. We just need to work on more roofs. Yeah.
Oops on roofs.
As I mentioned before, like I'm not like we're not considering having tinting of props and stuff like that. But one of the things that has come up potentially in variants is maybe we can release like roof variant colors by just basically having a texture swap. But that's an idea that I've been warming up to at least. But as a way to get some variation there.
Lemurian Settler asks, where do you see TaleSpire 5 or 10 years from now? I could see it live on for decades as a beloved tool in the RPG community that only gets better thanks to the community content. Kind of like how people still play Doom to this day.
that'd be lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, dude, if this lasts even a quarter of the time actually, I think a quarter of the time, like something like Neverwinter Nights. Yeah, I mean that would be amazing. If people are still, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years? It's so crazy. But 5 years has already passed almost. This is nuts to think about.
Yeah.
So it's and we're still working on it. I don't know, man. Where do you guys see it? I see it as like I don't know. Like, okay, so there's two pathways, right? We're either going to keep working on it, and because we have the financial means to, or like what you guys were saying, like if we don't, it's going to become like open source. And yeah, I mean that just depends on like the.
Yeah, it's our kind of like last ripcord, is to make sure that people don't lose all their stuff, is to find a way to package it up. And that isn't just something we're thinking about, like, oh, if something goes wrong. Like there is research like being done on the back end side of like how we are designing the back end so that it can be packaged up if it were to be, like, if and when it were to be released, so people could host their own servers and things like this. It's not trivial. We looked at peer-to-peer. That was something that actually I probably need to update the roadmap on that. Strict peer-to-peer is hard. Yeah, I don't want to go into all the technical stuff of that right now. But if you can host your own servers, then you get to the same place with a little more. But again, these are long-term stuff. We're just making sure that whatever we're building is with an eye to that. So we don't paint ourselves into a corner, and that guys don't get left without something. That said, we're in a solid place, and we don't expect to go anywhere other than just keep on making this. And we might again. That's it, really.
Yeah, it's so much fun to be working on this project and to be working in TaleSpire and have like people playing it so actively, and as long as sort of people keep playing it and are active and keep requesting things, and as long as we have the means, I feel like TaleSpire can go on for a long time. It is important to us, as Chris said, that the TaleSpire game can outlive like the time when it's not financially viable, and so that it's important for us to be able to design with that in mind. When it comes to online only games, they're so difficult to to properly archive. Like people like talk about like game historians and stuff like that, because they die and they don't have the servers to be able to continue doing that. So to be able to at least sort of put that out there so that people can still host their games, they can still play it on Steam and then hook up to a dedicated server is that's important for the way future part. But hopefully we can just continue making stuff, and first of all we have to like actually get it to 1.0, which requires a specific set of features that we've promised, and then once we're at that point, we can also evaluate how it's going. But it's selling sort of nice and stable, and we have such a great active community, which is amazing.
I know. I can almost see it becoming like a thing, like Return of Reckoning. I don't know if any of you guys played like Warhammer Online back in the day, and then EA shut down the servers because it was not the WoW killer they were thinking it was going to be. And but now you can actually go and play it. You know, there's like a community that stood it up, and you can play it for free. You know,
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Our next comes from JessTom0911. Have you considered making a customizable torch in which the brightness value, range, color, etc. can be made and saved for particular minis?
Mating and saving, we haven't explicitly talked about in any of the streams, but that's not again, if it was a parameters on the creature, that would definitely be savable in the blueprints, just like everything else. So that's no problem. And then the other parts we kind of covered in the lighting kind of stuff. So
Hollow Fox asks, so in the asset browser, I can view private minis I've uploaded in Mod.io. Will there be official support later to allow actually subscribe and dropping them in? Because I've had to write an unofficial patch to do that.
Yeah, I wanted to. I haven't checked back in on the modding Discord. I think was it there? I was asking someone. I can't remember if it was there or in the main Discord, where someone mentions that you guys were doing that, and I'd love to know what you're doing there. In terms of like, because the last time maybe it's changed, or maybe I was just wrong. I didn't think that. I thought that the only person who could download the private mini, the private asset, was the person who owned it. But that might be wrong. So, you're no longer in the modding Discord. Oh, of course, yeah, that's been a while, isn't it? But yeah, I'm interested in the mechanics. If it's something that fits in for us, then I'm game for looking into it. But if it doesn't, and there are like reasons we wouldn't do that, if we can't make it robust enough, then it's just something like you said. If you've made a thing for it already, great. That's kind of solved, right? That's what making sure that we supported the modding was for. But yeah, like that sounds something. If it can make it, let us know how you've done it. Sure, forward the code. That'd be lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Blob asks, is it possible that in addition to offering, let's say, 10 ground tiles, the library also offers a random ground tile within the set, and it randomizes a tile every time one is placed, making ground more dynamic and less tiled and repeated? I think random rotation would also probably fit into this.
Yeah, like dragging out a 10 by 10 area instead of just having it all uniform. Kind of, being able to randomize.
I'm pretty sure there's a feature request for that.
Yeah, it's I know that how we're doing the drag out doesn't make it like trivial necessarily. And also, not all tiles are rectangular, like they're not. They are. I mean, squared. Sorry. So that's a bit of an issue. However, like we could solve that by just allowing rotation around whatever axes are sort of like the same lengthwise. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have something like that.
Forge of Law in the chat is saying that there's a symbiote for setting that up. So they use slab generation to do a kind of thing like that. I then can't remember exactly which one it is. Forge of Law saying slab tool or something like that. So have a search and see what you find.
Yeah, and push the feature request up.
Okay. And our last question comes from that guy Baldrax, who asks, have any of you played Satisfactory? After putting a bit of time building in that game, it made me think that many of their concepts would translate directly into TaleSpire. Slick ways to drag out sections of tiles and replace sections quickly. Building in TS can be quite tedious sometimes, so it'd be nice to see some new tooling there.
Cool. There's definitely going to be like another big pass on the building tools. I have not played Satisfactory very much, but it's one of those I would love to play, but also one of those that scares me because time. Yeah. So, but thanks for the suggestion, because I'll definitely check it out now that I know that that's the one to look at.
I think between the 2 platforms it released on, I've sunk 600 hours or so into the game. I know I have 381 hours on Steam, and I think I had an equal amount of hours or so.
I would definitely be avoiding that one then.
Yeah, it's a scary one. But at least I can check it out, like enough to.
Yeah.
I say, and then
Well,
months later, I just sit here and haven't done.
We've still got to have that session, like trying out dreams as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Say,
that's a very interesting one.
To be fair, that's because I restarted a world every time a new minor update came out. So that's why I have so many hundreds of hours. Now that it's in 1.0.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just making excuses.
I have a 100-hour save instead of a 300 hours.
Fair enough.
All right. I believe that brings us to the end of our Bouncyrock bi-monthly banter. So thank you all for showing up. Any closing words?
Yes, I'd definitely like to thank the rest of the team that's not here. They're amazing, and also our amazing mod team over on Discord.
Yes.
Continuously, it just blows my mind. They're such great people.
Yeah, they are. They're the best.
That's it for me.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. It's always awesome to hang out with you and get the questions and everything like that. And actually, just a question for you guys, whoever's here. I would just like to, not you guys, the people in the chat. Sorry. Just let me know what you're playing these days, as far as like your tabletop RPG. I just like to get just see kind of like what people are playing.
Yeah.
And other than that, yeah, Chris.
Oh, I had nothing to add.
Okay, well,
it's all rocking on. It's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for showing up for another session of Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter. The next one should be in April. Keep your eyes on our socials and, most importantly, our Discord, where we will be sure that things are announced ahead of time. So thank you all for showing up, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Ciao.
See you guys.